For more than 20 years, CTV has captured the moments that matter in our community. From our studios in St. Clair, you're watching Focus with Paul Dingeman.
Nice.
Welcome to another edition of the Focus program. I'm Paul Dingeman. Focus appears Marine City, St. Clair each Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. Now throughout northern Macomb and all of St. Clair County on Thursdays and Fridays. Glad you're along. We got three very important segments, almost four segments, I think, today. And let's begin with a new friend by the name of Al Au. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, likewise, Paul.
And Al, you are a musician.
I am.
And you are going to be performing on Sunday, October the 2nd at the First Methodist.
Yep, First United Methodist
Church, the top of the hill. Mr. Paul Schaefer, who is well known in this area, has done it again. He's produced another concert series. So talk to me about it.
It's wonderful. You know, I've known Paul Schaefer now for some 20 years. We have worked professionally throughout the Archdiocese, actually, in different churches, different parishes, different capacities, you know, and even in helping out churches with their sound systems as a side thing. And Paul's always been very interested in really trying to make a difference in the community that he's involved in. And as you said,
certainly has,
you know, St. Clair, I mean, born and bred, right? It's very near and dear to his heart, you know, so he'll get behind a cause and work it right from the ground up, you know, very responsible, fiscally responsible, all those sorts of things. So this is our chance to bring, you know, our culture, you know, more culture to St. Clair.
And it's called the St. Clair Cultural Series, and the program says call Al. What does that mean?
Well, you know, you pick up the phone and call Al. My main work is either with the Detroit Symphony Orchestra or the Michigan Opera Theater, Detroit Opera House, Fisher Theater, and first call in all of those organizations. And which means, you know, when they need somebody to play guitar, mandolin, tenor, banjo, ukulele, they call me and I have, you know, basically the first rights of refusal for the most part. You know, it depends on what the show is, but that's something I've achieved over the years. And just, you know, leading up to this, a few people that, you know, one was referred to, we need a guitar player. Why don't you call Al? It came to me 3 or 4 times, and I like the telephone theme.
Oh, yeah, it's cute. That's very cute. Okay, the program itself, are you going to be a soloist, or are there other performers?
It'll be a quartet, actually. There'll be drums, percussion, battery, and bass, electric and acoustic, and I'll play various guitars and guitar synthesizer. So yeah, it's a group, small group.
And in the program, it does say Norwegian Wood is the first one you're going to start with, and everybody knows that one. That's a great one. It's a great lineup of music. Talk to me about it.
Yeah, so, you know, as you can see, too, there's a variety of music. There's some jazz music, there's Latin music, and how we will stylize these songs, like Norwegian Wood, it'll be instrumental, right? And it's in a Latin, kind of a mambo style. At least the last time we had orchestrated it for that. So the idea is to have something for everybody, and all of this music is you know, near and dear to my heart, near and dear to our hearts. So it felt like a good thing.
And even a couple Bach numbers.
Exactly, yeah, that I do as a medley, and sometimes Blackbird is in there as well, you know.
It's a great selection. The concert is at 5 o'clock on Sunday, October the 2nd, which is just around the corner, at the First United Methodist Church, as we always affectionately say, at the top of the hill. But there's going to be an afterglow, too, at the River Crab. That's something new for Paul to move up to the River Crab, and we're glad he's doing that. It's a great place to stop and have a little afterglow. Talk to me about what are some of the other areas that you perform at. You said the Detroit Symphony?
Right, so, and actually I have, this weekend I'm playing with a group that's associated with the Detroit Symphony Orchestra called New Music Detroit. It's in the Eastern Market, actually. It's a Saturday evening. It's a very eclectic. It's inside, actually. It's in the Wasserman Center. It's a very eclectic piece of music. So, and various things with the Detroit Symphony Orchestra. I've played over the years. 2 years ago, played at Carnegie Hall with them, and it was Kurt Weill's Seven Deadly Sins. Tenor banjo right in the center of the stage at Carnegie Hall. Had my mother there. It was really a special thing. So,
Mother, I'm going to play Carnegie Hall.
And you're going. You know, she made me practice, so I figured, you know, that's part of the way to Carnegie Hall. But so I get called to play shows, various shows, Fisher Theater shows. I was on the road with Mamma Mia for a couple years, actually toured all over North America. So, you know, I played saxophone in school, so my music reading skills are above average, and it really fits for shows. So,
where did you go to school?
I went actually to Warren Fitzgerald and played, went to Blue Lake Fine Arts Camp, in the summer times, and I studied at Wayne State, actually. Studied jazz studies there for about 2.5 years.
What an interesting career,
Definitely, interesting life. Actually,
yeah, right. Okay, and where do you call home now?
Ferndale.
Actually, that's a nice area. That's a lot of music there.
A lot of creative types.
Really creative.
Everybody fits in Ferndale, even me.
The Call Al show, Sunday, October the 2nd, 5 o'clock, and I believe it's a free will offering. Is that right, Paul?
Nope, 2040.
20? Oh, I'm sorry, it's right up here. There we go. $30 for individual, $40 for family, and Afterglow is included. Oh, that's pretty cool.
Oh, that's a great deal.
$5 for students, and so you can get tickets where?
You can get them at the door, Art Center, at the church.
Okay, at the church, at the St. Clair Arts Center, or at the door. And it's Sunday, 5 o'clock. What's the best thing about music?
The joy that can be shared, that it's a universal language and emotion, and most often joy, but it's a very powerful thing. It affects us in a very deep, personal way, and all of us differently, but collectively it's still a very powerful effect and can be used to good effect.
You're a good man.
Right on.
Nice to have
Thanks,
had you
Paul.
on there.
It's my pleasure.
We invite everybody to go October the 2nd, 5 o'clock at the First United Methodist Church. Thanks very much. Back with our next guest, and we're going to talk about Whistles on the Water coming up September 24th in just a second.
Oh, yes.
Well, that's the sound we hear very frequently around the St. Clair area, the Blue Water area, the sound of wonderful, wonderful ships. And 8 years in a row now, we've been having a wonderful celebration called Whistles on the Water. Dave Michelson, welcome back to the Focus Set.
Thank you. My pleasure.
You
My
are
pleasure
the human voice of the Whistles on the Water. The real voice is the whistles themselves, isn't it?
I am the narrator, and I am the whistleblower. I actually operate the whistles on the boiler. And yeah, this is our 8th year. And what you were just hearing there before is the sound of the ships that we have answering calls to our whistles. We exchange salutes between the passing ships and our whistle boiler, and we have excellent success with that.
8 years ago, a young man by the name of Dan Lockwood and yourself and Al Johnson and a couple of young fellow, probably by the name of Fred Moore too, probably was involved there, got this idea to bring steamship whistles to the area and have a celebration.
That's correct. Yeah, and in no small part to Al Johnson, Dan Lockwood, and also the city of St. Clair.
Right.
Because the city of St. Clair really embraced this idea. This was something that we had taken this idea up to other cities such as Port Huron, and there was really no interest. So it was wonderful that they've welcomed us. The citizens of the city have endured us now for the past 8 years with really a lot of noise, if you will.
Cameraman that's on you right now lives out on Wadhams Avenue, and he said he can hear him out there. So
I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised at all, because you got to remember these steamship whistles had to be heard at great distances. You had a ship with tremendous mass moving through the water, with the Great Lakes being very foggy. You needed a means of signaling to tell others your presence that could be heard for many miles, so that anyone else knew by the direction of the sound how to avoid you. This, of course, very important in the days before electronics.
The ones we heard coming into the show are the new ones that are run by electronics.
That's right.
These, and more we'll show in a minute, were powered by steam.
Yes, this is a principle that actually came about from musical instruments. However, it's done with much greater pressure and volume, and therefore produces a much louder sound, greater sound.
Great sound.
But technically they are musical instruments.
Really?
Each one does produce a distinct tone. And the one we have here actually dates back to the Civil War time.
No kidding.
Yes, this is an example of one that would have been used on a locomotive back in the Civil War era. And so you're looking at a very early example. The lever being, the valve being up in the top of the whistle, as opposed to now where the lever is below the whistle. This was actually a very inefficient design. It caused a lot of leakage of steam, and they went to better designs over the years. So this is a very, very early whistle. But our show will have all types of whistles. We have.
If Jared will throw up that DVD, we got some pictures of previous years, and if you can throw them on the back screen too, Jared, that'd be great. There's a picture back here, Jared, David, over here.
Oh.
There you go. There.
Oh, yes.
Sort of roll through them.
Oh, yes. Okay.
Jared.
Yeah. Here we have on the table there, we have a valve and another whistle there in the background. Oh yeah, now there's actually whistles mounted on the manifold with our logo there in the background. This is the crew it's necessary. Everyone here is a volunteer, and this is how many people it takes to actually
just blow a whistle.
To blow a whistle. Yes, indeed.
They come in all sizes and shapes.
All sizes and shapes. This gentleman here was a captain for many years. Unfortunately, he passed away on the date of our event 2 years ago.
Oh my God.
This is Captain Bill Hoy and his whistle. There's a great selection of various Great Lakes steamship whistles there, all of them dating back to around the turn of the 20th century.
Okay.
So,
there's your.
And there is a good photo of the marvelous machine that we have on a trailer. We have, going from right to left, we have a fuel tank, water, and then the boiler. You can see again the boiler in the background. We use approximately 400 gallons of fuel oil a day and about 2,000 gallons of water.
Oh my God.
Which all goes up in steam.
Right.
And
okay.
And in addition to that, you can see the wide variety of tools that are necessary when we're working on this during the day. Wrenches, different things to handle pipe fittings. And we actually have a very skilled group of volunteers, a lot of people that worked in the steam business over the years.
So this is going to start at 9 a.m. on Saturday the 24th, rain or shine.
Rain or shine,
because it doesn't affect the steam whistle.
Doesn't affect the steam whistle.
And people, there's no admission charge.
No admission charge.
A couple other things that are going on. The St. Clair Rotary Club has a raffle for a trip for 6 people on a Great Lakes freighter, and that drawing will be held at 4 o'clock, or just before. So that's an incentive to come buy a ticket. And across the street is Chalk the Walk, which is a Chamber of Commerce thing. But where do you get whistles from? I mean, are they coming from all over the United States?
They're coming from all over the United States. We have collectors. One of the special things this year, we have 4 different whistles from different collectors. The whistles were all part of the Dunbar and Sullivan construction company.
It wasn't a musical. Dunbar
it wasn't a musical, but they're all very interesting, unique whistles. They all have a very distinctive sound, a good sound. So we have a little symphony provided by the Dunbar and Sullivan company this year.
And with the talk of the Boblo boat coming to St. Clair sometime, if that's ever works out, do you have the Columbia?
We have the Columbia's whistle here this year, and we will be blowing it.
Wow.
Yes.
And that's the boat they're talking about?
No, that's not the boat. Now,
it's the other one. Went to the Hudson River.
That's going to the Hudson River, yes. Okay. But the whistle's staying with us.
Okay.
They're going to have to get a new whistle for it. Okay. No, it's the St. Clair. And the St. Clair, the whistle is actually still on the boat.
Okay.
We'd like to get it off sometime so we could blow it.
Right, right. Well, that'd be an incentive for them
to bring it here.
Build some interest here.
Yep. Yep.
Well, David, it's been a wonderful project. Whistles on the Water, St. Clair.
Gets better every year.
It does, and it's the kind of thing that you see people of all ages, older people, grandma and grandpa want their grandchild at 3 or 4 or 5 to know what that experience was to hear one of those. And you provide earplugs too.
We provide free earplugs. In addition, down on the boardwalk, we will have a small manifold with small whistles.
Oh, good.
So the public can blow the whistles, and they'll have their picture taken. The pictures are free of charge, and all of that's being provided by the St. Clair Wellness Center.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful.
So, yep. And just, you know, keep in mind that this is something of a bygone era. There's nowhere else are you ever going to hear anything like this. And personally, my recommendation is bring a picnic lunch, get yourself a nice, comfortable place along the waterfront.
Go down by the Voyager.
Down by the Voyager. The loudspeakers system on the boardwalk will pipe my narration all the way down to the Voyager. So you'll have an idea of what it is you're hearing. And honestly, I feel the farther away you are, the better.
As our cameraman knows, when out on Wadhams Avenue.
Out on Wadhams Avenue. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
Dave Michelson, always a pleasure to see you.
Thank you very much, Paul.
Well, Jared, if you've got some of those pictures up of the walk, Chalk the Walk, we'll throw those up here for a second. So the Chamber of Commerce puts and the St. Clair Art Association puts on a Chalk the Walk where kids can get crayons and they go all over town. There they are there, and they can chalk the walk and nobody gets mad at them. So that's a good project. And you can see they've done some wonderful things over the years, and that will be going on also all day, 9 a.m. till 4 p.m. On Saturday the 24th. So if you're going to be in the Blue Water St. Clair area, make sure you stop and listen to the whistles on the water and take your kids across the street and participate for free once again in Chalk the Walk. We're back with our next guest, who is a professor at St. Clair County Community College. He's written a book. It's a really popular title at this point, Democrats, Republicans, and None of the Above. We'll hear all about that in just a second. Important places in St. Clair, city of St. Clair, and in many, many cities, is the Historical Museum or the Historical Commission. We've got a very active one here in the city of St. Clair, mainly because of this lady, Chrissy Gorzen, and 5 or 6 other people who are the core of that wonderful establishment on 3rd Street, 4th Street.
South 4th Street.
South 4th Street.
Yeah.
I should know. That's where CTV got its start.
Yeah.
It was upstairs there, in the back room.
I don't know how you did it out of that room.
Oh,
We've got it full of books now.
Chrissy, welcome. You've got an anniversary celebration coming up on the 23rd and 24th, I believe.
22nd
and 23rd.
Yes.
And it's an anniversary. Tell me about it.
Well, because the inn has been closed, the St. Clair Inn, and because people were negative about it being closed and not looking so good, a year and a half ago we had a program where we interviewed people.
Okay.
And it's like, let's just interview it so people can start talking about happy times at the inn, what the inn meant to them, and things like that.
How many hundreds of people worked there as they went through high school or college? It was tremendous.
Yeah, and so they came, and we called it a reunion of memories, and they came and they told their stories. We interviewed them in different ways, and wasn't sure what we were going to do with it yet.
But you captured it.
We wanted to capture it just to get some positive going again about the inn. And then as the inn became historic property, historic district, and we get the new owner, I'm thinking, you know, we have to have a program about the history of it. So when I was doing the research this summer, I found an article where it said September 22nd was the actual day that the inn opened, and they had their opening ball banquet party. And then it was dated 1926, and I'm like, my God, that's 90 years ago. So even though the inn isn't open, we have to celebrate this very important anniversary. So we're going to have a program party on the 22nd, 90 years to the date.
Wonderful.
And so that'll be Thursday night at 7, and then we repeat it again Friday at 1 o'clock in the afternoon.
Okay. Well, you brought along some pictures.
Yeah.
And if they'll throw them up on the screen there, we'll take a peek of some of the inn when it was first started. And here they come. There's one right there. That's sort of a long shot from across the street.
Yes.
Some beautiful lush trees and some really old cars, good-looking cars.
Yeah, I think those are from the 40s. And so you can see the inn has some growth on the hedges up front and the trees in the front.
Okay, and the next picture? Okay.
Now this is, from left to right, is Robert Holden, his father Creighton Holden Sr., and then Creighton Holden Jr., so the father in the middle and the two sons. In 1946, Creighton Holden agreed to come back to the St. Clair Inn if he could,
Senior or junior?
Senior,
okay.
If he could purchase 51% of the stock and have full control over running it.
Who owned it at that time?
It kind of went back and forth and different. I know Dr. Inches owned it for a certain amount of time because shortly after the inn was open, Prohibition happened.
Okay.
You know, Prohibition was going on during that time, and then the stock market fell, so they went through some tough times shortly afterwards.
Oh, let's go back to the boat.
That picture, this is one of my favorites because that is, we believe, so I don't have this fact for sure, but that is one of the very first boat nights.
Oh, okay.
It was held at the St. Clair Inn, so the boats would...
I had heard, and I don't know whether this ties in, does it tie into the Mackinac race that some of the sailors stayed down here?
That's what I'm saying, the first boat night that we know boat night as of now.
Race.
Yeah, for the Mackinac race.
Okay.
So we believe that was the year that they went over to, I think just the tip of Georgian Bay and then across to Mackinac.
Okay.
So this is from the 1940 movie. So this is a color photograph. Well, it's part of the movie.
Right.
Of the St. Clair Inn, so you can see the color of it. On the side, you can see that big, I don't know, hoist or whatever. That is they're putting in a new seawall.
Okay.
We found out, and so that's just a good shot of the dining room window and how beautiful it is.
And that's really an early shot there.
That is, yeah, one of the earliest. You can see the cars are from, I don't know,
the 20s.
20s, early 30s.
Yeah, because there's no, the little cabins are not pictured in this picture. So the
cabins did not come till a year after Creighton took. Those didn't come till 47.
So
but
this is way before.
Yeah, this one you can see on the left, the big black opening there.
Right.
That is when the veranda was still a porch.
Okay.
And then beyond that was the south porch, and then the north porch actually was not open as a porch right away. So that's what the...
So you're going to have pictures like what's that one now? That's a baseball.
This is, I know, there's so many exciting things. This is when the Tigers would come up.
The Detroit Tigers.
The Detroit Tigers would come up. We don't have as many pictures as I know that are out there, but the Detroit Tigers would come up, and this was one of Creighton Holden's ideas. He would host them. This is when the inn owned the country club.
Yes.
So the wives, the children, the kids could could play at the club, swim in the pool, and then kids around town would babysit the children, and the parents could have a fun night. But the good thing for St. Clair was the Tigers would go down to Clutcher Park and spend time with the children. I don't know what exactly they did.
First time I've ever heard that.
There should be pictures of their parents should have pictures of their kids if they met. This was, okay, I don't know a lot about sports, but Al Kaline was one of the guys in the pictures. So that, what is that, 60s, 70s.
Yes.
And some of my husband's friends can remember.
Wow.
Them coming up. But more people should have pictures, and if they do, please contact me.
Yeah, the Historical Museum.
Yeah.
The Historical Committee.
Yeah.
Commission. That's a spectacular story. I had not heard that one before. The Tigers used to have a press tour where they would come around later in the 70s and the 80s, and they did stop at the end, but it would be a bus tour, and they would hit Flint and you know, Lansing all in the same day and stop for a couple hours and then be on. But this is much more spectacular.
Well, I hope you come to the program because there is a very spectacular story that I tell that I am saving for the program.
Okay.
And it's just, well, I think it's spectacular. It's just one of many.
Good.
It's such
well,
a
let's
good
review
history.
the dates. It's September 22nd at 7 o'clock or September 23rd at 1 o'clock. There's a huge donation of $5.
Yeah. They can give more if they'd like.
Okay.
We do put our money to good use.
Okay, and students are free. And it's going to be held at
the St. Clair Historical Museum.
Which is?
308 South 4th Street in St. Clair.
You follow direction very well.
Yes. I wanted to have it at the inn, but when...
Well, we can put a tent up.
Well, yeah, Jeff offered that, because when I asked him if we could have it there, he thought about it, but then he said, Chrissy, I don't know what shape the bathrooms are in, and I'm like, oh my goodness, we can't do a program.
He's a delightful man. We've had him on here and talked to him. You've met him. There was some people there the other day with a couple of pickup trucks, and one of the people in town talked to them and said that they're gonna, you know, they're getting ready to do something. They don't know what they're gonna do yet. They're waiting on words from investors, so it takes time.
It does, and it just, the inn is basically the heartbeat of St. Clair, and we've had an illness for a couple of years.
Well, that's
so
a great way to look at it.
Get back.
That's great. Chrissy Gorson, St. Clair Historical Commission, with a great invite for you to find out all the history and celebrate the history of St. Clair's Inn on their 90th anniversary. We'll be back with our next guest in just a second. I'm holding a book in front of me, which has got a great title for this time of year. It's called Republicans, Democrats, Republicans, and None of the Above. I think that's a really hot title at this time of year from CNN and NBC and MSNBC and all the rest of them. This book was written locally by a professor called Craig Archer, who's a sociology professor at St. Clair County Community College, and we welcome him to the Focus Set. Nice to see you.
It's a pleasure to be on the show,
Nice
Paul.
to have you here.
Thank you.
And you got great pictures of the two parties there, the donkey and the elephant, and those are great.
I had a graphic artist help me with that, and it turned out just absolutely beautiful.
Talk to me about why and how you got into the writing of a book, number one, and then writing a book about such an interesting subject.
Well, what happened was I have been thinking about the ideas in that book for the last 10 years.
Wow.
I've been thinking we need some alternative besides the two existing political parties. I've been thinking about that since George W. Bush was president.
You're hearing a lot of that this year.
Well, you know, I had the germ of the idea for the book, and I knew the title was going to be Democrats, Republicans, None of the Above. And from there, I just started formulating a lot of ideas. So when it came time to actually write the book, it came together pretty quickly. What happened is, as a full-time professor, I'm pretty busy.
Right.
And I always wanted to write this book, and then finally Trump was running, and I decided I've got to get this book out. So I think it is very timely, and I think a lot of people are looking at this election with a little bit of, or a lot of angst and fear and concern. So they're going to be in the polling booth saying, what do I do? And and normally we don't make really good choices in life when we're operating out of fear. So this is not something people are really excited about, to be confronted with the choices we have this election. So I wanted to lay out some ideas or alternatives about what we could do. And most books that you read by political writers that are for a popular audience tend to focus on what's wrong. And what I think is good about my book is I try to focus on solutions. It's easy to complain.
Yes, much easier.
But it's harder to come up with what are some solutions. So there are a number of different topics I thought that do not usually get addressed, or maybe need to be addressed in a different way. And some of those topics were how we deal with the First Nations. I think there's a real need to talk about ethical capitalism as opposed to just capitalism. I think we need to think about our environment and the legacy we're leaving our children. I think we need a 28th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution that would term limit our Supreme Court justices. I think we need a new approach to policing, what I'd call policing 3.0, and community development issues. And I think our schools need a lot of work. As an educator, I think we've spent a lot of time on No Child Left Behind and Common Core, and those are not the answers. And finally, I think nationally we need a different approach to our foreign policy.
You've been doing a lot of thinking.
I have.
You got to be tired after all of that.
Yes, I am. So it's been really gratifying to write this book. One of the things I think is there's currently out in, there are protests going on right now among our First Nations dealing with burial sites and the pipeline, and also water quality. And I think we know, being close to Flint, Michigan, how this can be a big issue for people. So it's not just a theoretical, could this go wrong? It could definitely go wrong. And when I thought about this in our history with First Nations, you never see a presidential candidate making this a campaign plank, but there needs to be a serious discussion about returning all the sacred sites to our Native American tribes. Bill Bradley in the 1990s had a proposal to return the Black Hills of South Dakota to the Lakota, and that was not approved, but I think that would be a good template to think about this. Also, the Bureau of Indian Affairs is typically something that has been intrusive. It's been poorly managed at times, and I think we're at a time in our nation's history where we need to convene all the tribes in Washington, D.C. and talk about how we're going to restructure the Bureau of Indian Affairs so that those concerns and issues get heard. We believe in democracy, we believe in representation, and Native Americans have not been, they weren't granted U.S. citizenship until 1924. In terms of ethical capitalism, we have a lot of corporations. We have good corporate actors. I'm not against business or corporations, but I think there are people, what I call free traders, and these are people that have no loyalty to this country. We have had servicemen shed their blood for this country. We've had American workers work hard to make this country great, and then we have people that want to practice tax inversion, which means they do not want to pay U.S. taxes. They have no loyalty to American workers. They're just about the bottom line, just getting a buck. That needs to change. I think also we need to seriously look at rewarding people that are good entrepreneurs. I think government has a role in terms of, I know to do this book I had to get a tax code of doing business as, and I know when you're a new business owner, one of the things we could do to encourage entrepreneurship is to make certain that we provide legal and accounting services to entrepreneurs, and we subsidize that. That would cause a lot of businesses to grow. I think in terms of the environment, we need to really shift to electric cars and move and start weaning ourselves off of fossil fuels and move towards renewables. I think that's really important. When we think about the Flint water crisis, one thing that nobody has discussed up to this point is Flint was a company town. And who actually put the chemicals in the Flint River? Well, I would reach out to some of these automakers and say, look, we would like to work with you. We would like to maybe lower your taxes, but that would be an incentive to get you to retool the American auto fleet to be electric cars. You need to be hiring American workers. Right now, Ford is talking about sending more jobs to Mexico, and that is not a good that's not a good, I mean, when I think about Henry Ford, he doubled the wages of employees because they realized they'd buy more of his cars. Why do we need a 28th Amendment? I think a lot of people are upset with decisions, whether you're on the left or the right, and people would like to have a new court to kind of retool things. But I was thinking that for the federal judiciary, we should really have term limits of about 8 years, and for the U.S. Supreme Court. And when there's a federal election, you, the voters, would get to vote on whether you agree. So the president would appoint Supreme Court nominees and federal judges. The Senate would ratify it, but then a general election, and you, the voters, would get to vote on this. Because the problem we have is we have judges that are no longer really accountable to the people.
Right.
And we need to address that issue. One of the things is by limiting that power of the federal judiciary. In terms of urban policy, we know with the protest in Ferguson that we need a new approach to policing. And my background is sociology and anthropology. One of the things is in New York City, Mayor Giuliani and William Broughton introduced what I would call policing 2.0, community policing. Now we need police that not only do that, but are also trained in terms of issues like family counseling. Police get a lot of calls on domestic violence. We need to also have police that are trained in terms of community development, and also kind of like an anthropologist going in and really understanding the culture and the people they're dealing with. I think if we did that and practiced a lot of reforms in terms of our urban policies, things would be a lot better. Another issue with policing is the police get called to act upon situations like the mentally ill.
Right. And
we do not have a good policy for taking care of a lot of our mentally ill that are on the streets, and we need to really change that and focus on that. I've done some doctoral research on Detroit and whether it could be brought back, and the Bronx at one time was in worse shape than Detroit. It was burning to the ground. Howard Cosell was so, the Bronx is burning. What I would like to do is see Detroit become a business-free tax zone, and for that benefit, you would have to use 80% of your suppliers would be Michigan companies, and also you would raise the minimum wage to $10 an hour. They did this up, I believe, in Montreal. Jane Jacobs documents this, and they had an economic boom in the face of an overall recession in the Canadian economy. So one last thing, there's a lot in the book. I encourage people to get it. But our schools, one of the things I can say about this is we've put a lot of credence on standardized testing. And what that is a way of measuring where students are at, but it doesn't provide the resources to help schools get better. The analogy might be that it's a stopwatch to see how fast or slow the runners are going, but we're not putting any resources into hiring better coaches, i.e. teachers, and better equipment. So I really think in terms of our schools, what we need is to make certain that the funding at the state level for schools is at least 90% of our highest funded schools. So you take a school district like Royal Oak and Ann Arbor, and they would make certain, and this would require taxes to go up, but the other schools in the state would be required to spend at least 90% of the same amount on the students. The other thing is that I really think we need a 4-tier system. One of the complaints people have about public educators is sometimes that bad people are not being gotten rid of. So I would foresee a system where you have a first tier, a apprentice teacher who's hired for 2 years, no tenure. Then you have a journeyman teacher for 5 years. After the 7 years, you know who you have in the class, and then they'd be a full teacher. Then after 25 years, you could have people, the best of the best, become master teachers. They would mentor the new teachers, and they could also hear about complaints, and they would be authorized to terminate bad teachers, or basically we need to remediate. They need to kind of correct things, but we can keep them on, or they can be terminated.
And you packed all that into this book.
There's a lot more.
Hi, golly.
But I'll let you breathe, and I'll take a breath too.
No. The subjects that you bring up are critical and important to students and to the nation and to to all of us, and I would encourage people to take a look at your book. Democrats, Republicans, none of the above. Where can I get it?
They can get it on Amazon.com, and it's just starting to appear in bookstores. So if you ask, like at Barnes & Noble, for them to get it, they can order it. In about a week, I'm going to have it on Kindle. So I'm a new author, and this has been a real learning.
Is this your first book?
This is my first book, but I've always wanted to be a writer as well as a professor, and it's a good fit. And this is kind of my first effort at that.
And you've been at SC4 8 years or something?
I've been there for 16 years.
16 years?
Since 2000.
Time goes by when you're having fun.
Well, it's a great privilege to teach some of our finest young people in this county. I really have worked with students. I've taken groups to New York City, to Washington, D.C., to Guatemala as part of the Global Awareness Club. And although some students are still finding who they are,
right, and that's proper.
A lot of them are really, really outstanding, idealistic people. I don't think that gets talked enough about, or that these really outstanding young people get praised enough. But there's some wonderful future leaders ahead of us, and I'm glad I have a hand in doing that.
Glad you have that thought. The title is Democrats, Republicans, and None of the Above. Available on Amazon.com and in Barnes & Noble. Craig Archer is the author, and we've had a pleasure of having him here at the Focus
Paul,
program.
It's been a real pleasure to be here.
Nice to meet you, sir. We'll have you back again when you wrote your next book.
Well, it's coming.
The Canadians, no, I'm coming up with new titles here for you. That's about it for this edition of the Focus program. Thanks very much for tuning in. Till next time, I'm Paul Dingaman. See you soon.
Thanks for watching Focus with Paul Dingaman. Focus is produced at the CTV Community Television Studios in St. Clair. For over 20 years, CTV has captured the moments that matter to our community.